This is not just a challenge with politicians. It happens in corporate establishments also, doesn't it?
Yes, of course it does. Some corporate organizations, for instance, use the media to propagandize about corporate social responsibilities. Schools they've built, hospitals they've built. But a lot of these hospitals and the projects are not standard. So I think that what we need to do is to make sure that not just governments, but even corporate organizations themselves are monitored in terms of the standard, of the quality of corporate social responsibility projects that they put in place. So we don't have those kind of regulatory systems yet. And I think that if we really want to make sure that we deliver service to communities, to the people of the country, at all levels, we need to put systems, regulatory systems in place to make sure that not only are services provided, but they are provided in good time and in the best possible quality.
If we talk about systems, institutions, because we talk about this almost all the time, where people tell us that, well, yes, we should focus on institutions and not individuals, and others argue, well, yeah, individuals make up institutions, and so where do they strike the balance? Because when one person comes in, the focus is on that lad, and when he's out, we seem to stop whatever development or progress has been made. How do we continue all of this?
Well, I think it's a balance that needs to be struck. We need to find the proper people with the right capacity, and then those people need to work within a larger system. Why the system is important is because if we make sure that the system works effectively, whenever a person comes into the system, it basically works effectively. But if you put an incompetent person into a system that works, the system basically questions, the capacity of such a person, because there is a tradition of excellence. That is why it's not enough simply to say, well, we just want somebody who means well. Good intentions can only take you as far as it can take you. But you really need institutional systems to make sure that although individuals come and go, a tradition of excellence is already established, and that is the role that institutions play.
But anyway, can the people help in changing all of this? Because if we say we have representatives of the people, and sometimes we need to play checks, put some kind of checks in the excesses of these people that have been elected or selected by the people. What can we do if we know that the people or the individual can actually strengthen that particular institution? What form of check can the people employ on input on those authorities for us to get that desired result?
This is an important question. You see, it's not enough simply to expect the people to hold leaders to account. We need to educate the people themselves to understand that the power actually lies with them. If you actually elected these people, or those who are active, in implementing policies, we are selected by those you elected, then ultimately you have the power to make sure that you are the ultimate regulator of their conduct. But the people need to be educated, and that is why I think civil society organizations play a very important role. They shouldn't just mobilize the people in moments of crisis and strikes, but they should go every time to go to the markets, go to schools, and make sure that holding people to account is part of the people's education. The people need to understand that, look, they can hold people to account, and that they can do this without being vindictive, that it is in fact part of their citizenship responsibilities to hold leaders to account, not just corporate leaders and governmental leaders, leaders in education, leaders in religious organizations. The people need to be aware that they in fact have a civic responsibility to hold leaders to account. And the moment we build this kind of education, among the citizenry, then basically, elected and selected representatives will have to sit up.
Dr. George, this is very, very important because from what we see on a daily basis, early this morning we saw a couple of tweets concerning the Nupeng strike. One of those who sent her tweet was saying that Nigerians called for the probe and prosecution of those indicted, and as the government is about doing that, we're getting to hear that some people in the guise of unions are going on strike. So it brings to mind the talk of educating the people so that we know how we can actually go all out and ask for what is ours. Now, in getting into all of this, we have a division again amongst the people. So how well can we have a united voice, irrespective of what the people want, irrespective of what those people will want to come and see, if they can cause some kind of division amongst the people, maybe by some kind of inducement, so that we can actually be focused for him, at least if for once?
Well, it's an important question you just asked. But there is no society where you have 100% unanimity among the people. The majority of the people is what we should target. If we educate the market women, by the way, they don't even need to attend universities or formal institutions in order to know their civic responsibilities, which includes holding leaders to account. We need to make sure that the components of that education makes the people understand that their condition is a direct reflection of the level of incompetence in government. And so people, poverty and wealth don't fall from heaven. They are social conditions created by good or bad public policy.
That raises a question though, because if you ask the Boko Haram people, they'll tell you that that's their own way of maybe holding or asking the community and the government for what rightfully belongs to them. That's their argument. In practical terms now, what is the most civil way to go about asking the government and holding them responsible for what they should do?
Well, since you cited Boko Haram, maybe I should just mention something. You know, there is nothing in the Constitution that allows you to hold people to account by violent means. So that's settled.
But that seems to be the fastest way to go about it.
As far as Boko Haram is concerned.
Okay.
You know, if Boko Haram, for instance, has any point, you know, it wants to make, I think there are constitutional procedures on how that can be done. If it's employment, if it's whatever they want, there are constitutional provisions. But my concern, frankly, is how the people can legitimately hold elected, you know, people in government to account. And they can do this, you know, by making the people realize in the marketplace that, look, this market in which you are trading can look better. The local government has a responsibility to provide better facilities. It has a responsibility to make sure that there is proper sanitation, to make sure that garbage is collected, and that these are primary responsibilities of an elected tier of government. And you have a responsibility to make sure you pay your taxes, you pay your rates, and to hold those who have these responsibilities to execute their responsibilities. So they need to understand that this is civic education. Okay, and we should do this from the primary schools level up to the university, up to all levels of citizenship existence. So until we do this kind of thing, we can only lament that, oh, people are not holding the government to account, and the government basically runs amok. So what we need to do is to make sure that we don't wait until there is a strike or there is a crisis and then we go everywhere looking for how to mobilize the people. Mobilization of the people should be seen as part of citizenship education, I think.
It looks as though this challenge is institutionalized, and I say that because in our constitution it's enshrined by that this quota system, before a minister comes on board, it must come from a particular area. So, and then you have this educationally less developed states when considering those who are entering into certain places, and so all of those looks as though it's there, we have to go by that. So that kind of affects the mindset of people if they have to go beyond that.
Yes, if precisely, you made an excellent point. If a person goes into office, it seems to me that what they should look for is just meritocracy. Who will do this job best? It shouldn't matter to us whether the person comes from the east or comes from the south or comes from. I understand that politicians tend to do a great deal of, geopolitical balancing in their appointments as they make, and one can understand that. But even in doing that, nothing stops you constitutionally from looking for the very best person to do the job. Okay, so what we find so far is that there seems to be so much emphasis in where a person comes from rather than whether the person even has the capacity to deliver at all. And I think that this is something that should concern us, because you can see the extent of underdevelopment, and I think that there's a direct correlation between the character of our politics and the kind of lack of service delivery that we have. People should be appointed to offices, or people should be given contracts on the basis of the competence that is certified that they have. rather than simply their closeness to the president or their closeness to a certain minister or their closeness to a certain board member or director. I think that we should enthrone meritocracy even in the award of contract, and a proper technical audit about the technical competence of executors of some of these projects are done well in advance of the award of the contracts themselves.